just want to play you a little clip that we found this morning, which I think you might find amusing. This is from the election campaign last June and July. Keir Starmer's telling us what he thought should happen to any party that messed up the country.
I don't know a period in history, and you will all think about this, where almost everything is now in a worse state than when they started in government. And this is not about Labour or Tory. If you leave your country in a worse state than when you came into government, you should be booted out.
OK. I mean, you can't argue with his logic, can you?
No, and as he comes back from his holiday, Mike, he could reflect on those words, because every day that he's been in power, it seems to have got worse, whether it's the way that with the incredible increase in the number of people who are coming into the United Kingdom on small boats, the colossal cost of all of that, letting down the waspy women, turning on the farmers, you name it, he's done it. And it's an absolute disaster. And the black hole that Rachel Reeves talked about seems to be growing bigger and bigger. And it's incredibly worrying, actually. It shouldn't really be amusing us. It is a real problem, and it's a threat to our country.
It really is. It's the crisis of all manner of sort of dimensions, really, because you've got the fiscal crisis. You had people at the weekend warning that, you know, we're heading for a possible sort of reenactment of 1976 when Dennis Healey had to go to the IMF to bail out the economy. Some sort of authors and some economists I've spoken to have said that's probably a little bit wide of the mark, because inflation isn't quite as high as it was then, and borrowing isn't quite as bad as it was then either, and interest rates are not quite as high. But I mean, I don't think there's any part of the economy that you could look at and say it's doing well.
No, and the one that really worries me is the hospitality industry, Mike, which has lost 89,000 jobs over the last 12 months, made worse by Rachel Reeves' budget, where, as you know, national insurance went up on employers, and included in that was an increase in the minimum wage, which was a double whammy. A lot of these businesses are really struggling to keep their doors open. But 89,000 jobs lost, that means that I think the figures just come out today, that 6.5 million people, it's a record number, now on benefits in this country. So you've got 89,000 fewer people who are working and therefore not paying taxes. They are now claiming benefits. You've got 50,000 people who have illegally come into the United Kingdom we know of. I mean, all of this is a perfect storm for the economy.
Well, that's right, because there's an increasing number of people who are not contributing to the economy being paid for by a decreasing number of people who are paying tax and paying more and more of their money in tax because they can't avoid it. And meanwhile, when we spoke to James Chiavarini, who you may know from Il Portico over in Kensington, he was saying that he's losing a lot of business because regardless of what a lot of lefties say, that people aren't leaving the country, a lot of his customers have left the country, you know, who were all relatively high-end people, who would spend a fair amount of money in hospitality, but also in other ways in London while they were living here. And they've all gone to Portugal or Italy or Dubai or just somewhere else to get away.
Yeah. The figure's about 13,000, and we know from leading economists that the figure's just going to go up. People, their finances are way more fluid than was the case in the past. They can move money around as quickly as they possibly can. And the real threat, of course, is that Rachel Reeves is going to come back and ask for more in her next budget. And that's got to be incredibly worrying. You know, rich people do not need to put up with that. They're just going to take their money away. They're going to go to, I mean, what is Italy doing right that we're doing wrong? What is Dubai doing right that we are doing wrong? I mean, as you say, there's a number of countries out there that British people are fleeing to, and they're taking their money with them. They're spending their money abroad. They're not spending it here. And they were paying taxes on stuff that they were buying and using in the United Kingdom, and that's not coming anymore. So, as I say, it's a perfect storm, and the situation is only getting worse. And clearly, if Rachel Reeves wants to be the responsible Chancellor, then if she's not prepared to cut back on the spending, which is clearly what she should be doing, then there's only one thing that she can do, and that's to raise taxes on the rest of us. And we're already clobbered.
Exactly right. But I guess if you're Angela Rayner, you don't have to worry too much about it. I've got this from David in London. He says, a main residence is defined by the amount of time you spend in said residence, which means Rayner should be paying the council tax on her grace and favour home. If, as your previous caller suggested, the residence is linked to her job, then this would also make it a taxable work benefit. You'll probably know better than me the ins and outs of the way that the Westminster expenses system works. You know, I've got no objection to people in high-powered positions being given grace and favour mansions. I know the Speaker of the House gets one as well. But, you know, up to a point, Lord Copper, as we would say, you know, she claims that it's not her main residence because if it was, she would have to pay the council tax on it. I'm not sure I buy the fact that it's not her main residence, even though she may not have it after she's kicked out of a job.
Yeah, well, she's got a bit of form on housing. You couldn't have any more.
Well, I've called her the Minister for Housing herself.
Yeah, that's right. She's certainly looking after her own housing requirements, that's for certain. I mean, I'm scratching my head, Mike, over the fact that she's able to afford an £800,000 property.
Yeah, I know.
Well done her. But my goodness me, I knew when I was a member of Parliament that I didn't have the opportunity to get a third home, which is basically what she's doing. Right. On the money that she's earning. It is, I am scratching my head a bit on that. But she is a government minister. She will be spending the vast majority of her time, I assume, in London.
Right. Yeah, exactly right. And I mean, is there a rule which exempts politicians from having to get taxed on a work benefit if you're provided with a home? Because as Angela Rain, as that message pointed out, if she was an ordinary individual working for a company, if she was getting a free flat in London, she'd have to pay tax on it.
Yeah, no, the reality is that there's an acknowledgement that if you are representing a constituency way out of London, then you can't be expected to travel back and forth every day. I mean, they have tightened the rules a bit, Mike, certainly during the time I was a member of Parliament. Anybody could get a second property. Then all of a sudden the expenses scandal happened. They looked at it afresh, and people who were living within a certain circumference of London were no longer allowed that allowance to get a second property wherever it happened to be. So they have tightened up a little bit, but no, there's no extra taxation on that. There's just an expectation that you have got to be
but that's different, though. I'm not
living in your constituency and living in London.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about second homes that the individual MP has purchased, because that's different. This is if you're provided with a home by the government because you are a member of the government. Is that tax exempt?
As far as I understand it is, yeah, because the Prime Minister lives at number 10, the Chancellor lives at number 11, there's Angela Rayner's in one, in Admiralty House, there's a few others.
Lammy's got one.
There's a few others, and goodness knows what Chequers counts as. So, so as I understand it, no, it's an expectation that it goes with the job. But I think the bigger question that Angela Rayner has got to answer is that, and this morning, Mike, as I walked from Victoria Station to come to do this interview, I walked past 5 homeless people on the streets. Yeah. What are they doing about the homeless problem? As I said, she's clearly focusing on the housing issues for herself. But what about the 150,000 homes that she was supposed to be building in order that people who are seeking their own foot on the ladder just to get one property, never mind 3, what's happening there? And it seems to be pretty hardly anything's happening.
Well, that's the problem. And also the other big question I'm getting from a lot of people at the moment is what's happening with the movement of illegal migrants out of hotels into these HMOs, as they're called. And for those who don't know, homes of multiple occupancy. A lot of local councils have already determined that they've got some of these homes, or they're converting them as we speak. And people very sort of uneasy about people being moved out of hotels into the community, living sort of next door. I've had a few people this morning getting in touch saying, we've got a house in our street which has just been taken over. We've got another one down the road. People are starting to notice that that's kind of what's going on, and it's a massive problem because we haven't got enough homes.
It's not just a problem, Mike, it's a con. It's a little bit like the one in, one out, because we're only talking about a figure of 100, as I understand it. Well, over 210 came into the United Kingdom on a small boat on one day last week, right? So it's an absolute con, and people know it. And if they are going to accept that they are now going to have to close these hotels, even though Yvette Cooper apparently is going to go to the High Court to appeal the decision on Epping the other day, then, and that sounds quite ridiculous, if they say that they want to close the hotels, then that's what they ought to be doing. But if you're going to just move them from hotels into homes of multiple occupancy or into other homes, Mike, then all you're doing is shunting the problem.
Yes, exactly.
Or
possibly even making it worse.
Mike, shunting the problem.
Or making it worse, actually.
Yeah, and people have woken up to all of this. They're not stupid, and they will more recognise the fact that people are moving into their communities. The real answer is, and I've written to Kemi Badenoch on this, and it is quite simply to ensure that anybody who enters the United Kingdom on a small boat is guilty already of a crime. Not only will you be deported, but you will also be banned from ever entering the United Kingdom again. I mean, just tell them they're never coming back.
That is now reform policy, but it's not quite yet Conservative Party policy, is it?
Well, it should be, and I think Kemi's got one chance at this, and it's going to be at the party conference. And if she doesn't announce something big then, I think she's going to have real problems on this. I mean, people want to know what the Conservative Party stand on this issue. And we've got to be absolutely blatant about it. We have got to apologise for the fact that we did pretty dismally during the 14 years we were in power to send these illegal immigrants back home. We were absolutely poor at it. I mean, Rishi Sunak gave up in the end. Rather than tackle the problem, he gave up. And the problems just got worse. So we've got to get to grips. People ought not to be put into the community. They ought not to be put into hotels. They ought to be put into detention centres, and they should be deported pretty quick. I mean, Donald Trump's doing it. He's got 10 countries already lined up who are prepared to take the illegal immigrants that are coming into the United States. And funnily enough, it sorted out the problem. All Keir is talking about is tackling the people smugglers. Remind me, Mike, how many people smugglers have been taken to court? How many have been charged? How many have been convicted?
I think there's one, or possibly two.
I mean, so the problem hasn't been sorted, and people are coming in record numbers.
Yes, but now, of course, he's worked out that doesn't work. So now he's trying to make us believe that this one in, one out nonsense is a thing. When he's claiming there's 100 people that have been detained, we don't know where they've been detained. We don't know when they'll be sent home back to France. And even if they are, we get another 100, nonetheless, in their place. So it's not a reduction in numbers, it's an increase in numbers.
Yeah, well, as the Home Secretary is Euro-railing around European countries, I hope that she gets an opportunity as she comes home to stop off in northern France and have a look at the problem for herself. The fact that we are paying hundreds of millions of pounds to the French, who are basically doing pretty little other than waving goodbye to these people as they get on small and come into the United Kingdom. As I said, they should be intercepted as they come in, taken to a detention centre, so there's no fast food jobs for them, no benefits for them, and they're going to be deported pretty quickly. It's not going to be years, a matter of years. And whatever the legislation is necessary, whether it's a removal from the European Convention, which I think is absolutely essential now, to pull out of to replace the current human rights which are being used against us by lawyers. We need to have a British Bill of Rights which are going to put British people first. People who live in this country, get up early in the morning, pay their taxes, and they're seeing their taxes being squandered on thousands of people who are being put into hotels throughout the country. And moving them into other homes is simply not going to sort the problem out. It's just going to shunt the problem. And people smugglers know this. People are I understand they're putting notices up around Calais, warning people about what's going to happen to them. Really?
Yeah. Because that's going to stop them. It's like telling a drug dealer don't sell drugs because it's illegal.
Yeah, well, look at what we can see on your screen at the moment. Those small boats, and it's absolutely rammed full of people. And if you consider 210 came in on one day last week alone, the problem's getting worse. And as I say, Keir Starmer, all he did was shut down the Rwanda scheme. What did Donald Trump do? Talk to Rwanda. Now, illegal immigrants into America are being sent to Rwanda as well as 9 other countries, and he's looking for more countries. I mean, once people know that if they enter the United Kingdom illegally in this manner, that they're likely to end up in Rwanda or Guatemala or
Uganda's another one they're going for.
That they will then stop coming. They will then stop coming because we will have broken the model. But until that time, until we have the guts to do something about it, Mike, it's just going to get worse.
Yeah, absolutely right. Nigel, it sounds like you should be at the Reform Conference in September. Maybe I'll see you there.
Well, I tell you what, it's just a common sense policy. That's all we have wants to be. And I hope that Kemi has got the guts to stand up at the party conference, shout down the very small number within the party who say, oh, no, you can't leave the European Convention of Human Rights. Well, I'm sorry, it's crippling us. It crippled us when we were last in power, and it led to us losing power. And so if we don't grasp this by the nettle, Mike, it's an existential threat to the Conservative Party. It's as simple as that. We know what we need to do. We've just got to get on and do it.
Yeah.